and unusual.
All right, we're doing part 2 of our missing 411 cases. We're going to bring you some more crazy, spooky stories.
Crazy?
And
Maybe crazy. They're all crazy.
and give you some of our theories as to what could have caused them. But before we dive into this, we're going to give you that little ditty that we usually do at the beginning.
Oh, I like to know that the ditty stuck. Thank you. I'm proud of that. I want to say thank you all for your support and sharing your stories and experiences with us. Our goals with this show is to create a safe place to start opening up and having these discussions. We are not experts. We are learning and exploring these topics. With you together, we are being vulnerable, sharing our experiences with you. Because we want to take this journey together, seek the truth together. We love hearing from you, and if we are to continue building and growing our community, we need your help. So please, share with us, and that way we can share more with you. Like, follow, subscribe, and share. Visit our website. Listen to us on your favorite app, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Buzzsprout, YouTube with closed captioning, and more. Stay up to date by going to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you guys can convince even one friend to listen, whether it's someone who likes this stuff or someone who would benefit from this community, it's a great way to open up the conversation. So once again, share with us so we can share with you. Who wants to jump in? Who's got a crazy story?
I can tell because I have
dazzle
2
us.
of them. They're like shorter stories because I couldn't really find much. But
You couldn't find out of 1,600 cases?
No, like nothing that like.
Couldn't find about the one where the little girl gets taken away by robot granny up a hill, and little robot granny decides to say, "Hey, I need you to poop in a bag for me," and she's like, not gonna happen, robot granny. And granny's like, "All right, get fucked," and sends her back down the hill. But before that, robot granny started sparking. You didn't come across that story?
No.
Oh, well, hey, that's story 1. That was it. That was 2. That was literally it to the missing 401. I don't even understand how that was missing 401, but apparently it's in one of the books.
Defecate in this bag, my child.
Drop seduce in brown bag. I must take it to my robot friends.
Oh God.
I don't
Drop
know.
the crap, drop the crap, drop the crap in the bag, please. Drop the crap in the bag.
What?
That's how I pictured the robot.
The hell did I just say?
I don't even know. But yeah, hit us.
So one of the stories that I came across was a story on Stacy, and I'm not going to pronounce this correctly. Aras? I don't know.
Spelling, please.
Arras. So
I think you gotta roll the R's.
Yes, Arras.
I can't do that.
Arras. Arras.
But anyways,
Stacy.
Wait, do that one more time. He's taken, ladies.
By vodka, yes.
but she disappeared on July 25th, 1981 in Mariposa County, is it Yosemite?
Yosemite?
I've heard it. Okay, so I've heard it pronounced both ways. I've heard it pronounced both ways.
I've only ever heard it one way.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yosemite,
It was
not
one
Yosemite.
I think it was one of my teachers or something like that. So Yosemite. Shut up.
Protein demon.
Shut the fuck up.
Anyways.
Just cut that out.
No. That's not
this is
in.
gold.
Yosemite. Keep going.
So she disappeared on a horse riding trip with her father. She was 14 when she disappeared, and Apparently, she, after hours sorry, pause, guys, for a second. Austin is stuck in his sweater.
We're off to a great
All
start.
right, let's go. We got this. We're good. Austin's not stuck in a sweater
What a
anymore.
dingus.
You know what? I don't need your lip over there, Cassidy. Rod.
Should I just restart?
I would
Yeah.
restart.
Okay.
Protein demon.
Shut up. So Stacy disappeared on July 25th, 1981. She was 14, and she was on a horse riding trip with her father. And after riding for a few hours, they stopped at some cabins near a camp, and she had decided that she was going to go freshen up after the ride during their break. And they had planned on staying the night in the cabin, but she wanted to go on like a little walk to see because she liked photography.
Oh my god, me too.
So I was doodling and I was gonna just write protein demon, but Prozac came out. Prozac demon.
Yeah, but they were staying the night, and she, like I said, wanted to go for a little walk to take pictures of the scenery. And as she was walking, she saw that one of the older members of the group was sitting down, and she asked if he wanted to go with her. So he said yes. He was like in his 70s, and they got about halfway down to where they were going, and he decided to sit down because he was winded or something along those lines. And she just kept going, and he could see her, but then she like veered off a little bit and was like, you couldn't see her past the trees anymore. And like the group that was with them were still at the cabin, and they could see her going down until she veered off as well. And from that point, she wasn't seen ever again. Like, they had like groups of people come in to help. I think they said it was like at least an 8 to 10 day search or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
They spent, I believe, thousands of dollars on trying to find this girl, and they never came up with anything. There was a group that was said to have seen her when she was going down, but they didn't know where she went. Because like they saw her for a second, and then she was gone. And all they could find of her when they were searching was her lens cap. That's all they found. And a lot of people are saying that she, like, purposely did that because she was having, like, family issues and, like, school issues.
But how old was she?
14.
Do you think she just ran away in a sense?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying.
Did they bring dogs in?
They brought,
And-
like, 3 different groups of dogs.
And
Nothing.
was it the same thing where they usually just like lead up to right where she
Yeah.
was last seen and then
Mhm.
that's it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, if she just ran away,
Yeah.
like
So,
there would
and-
still be a trace that they could
But yeah, where's
Get
a
up to at
where's
least
a
a water point.
14-year-old girl going? Like,
right. Well, and she,
find herself a nice burly lumberjack.
they said that she was missing her boyfriend. So, like,
she had a boyfriend at 14.
Yeah.
Damn. All right.
but
The
Yeah.
80s, it was different, Cassidy.
What?
I don't know.
I thought they were more conservative back then.
It was the 80s. Did you see what the 80s were about?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Haven't you watched
Any
what's
80s
his
flick?
name? The Hughes, Tom Hughes, Ted Hughes, Frank Hughes, John Hughes. John Hughes. Haven't you ever seen a John Hughes movie? John Hughes? Like John? Are you just nodding because I shouted, or are you nodding because you know who I'm? That's not helping me.
Yes.
But another thing was they were talking to the father, and apparently she left on this little walk wearing flip-flops. Now, if she was going to, like, actually run away, she would have worn, like, hiking boots or something like that, because they were in, like, a treacherous, like, nature area.
Was
So,
this like during the summertime or?
I believe so. It was in July. So,
Okay.
yeah. So they didn't really, like, that theory was kind of debunked, essentially. But,
Well, yeah, because like once again, my thing is always the reason why I asked about the dogs is because like they're scent tracking dogs, like that's what they do, and they just go. They always seem to just lead to the spot where they were last seen, and then they sit down. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
And like dogs can pick up scents, like I think it was like 15 meters like underwater or something
Mhm.
crazy like that.
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like an
So-
intensive, like, training thing. Like, they do everything.
Just
What?
smell something underwater.
I'm sorry if you said this already and I missed it. What state? I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you said this already and I missed it, but what state was this one in?
California.
California. Okay.
A lot of the missing 411 stuff is in like California. I mean, it's all over the United States
Because
but there's a
California,
huge part,
a lot of the
like
ones
Crater
we did,
Lake and stuff
yeah,
like
a lot
that.
of the ones that we did last week were actually in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I asked. One, when I was like doing research, because I'm like, everyone knows my theory is aliens, or a tribe of Bigfoot.
Big feet.
Would it be big feet or
I don't know.
Bigfoot? Like Bigfoot is plural for Bigfoot, like moose for moose, like a tribe of Bigfoot.
Meese. Moose meese.
But
Yeah, I don't know. I was also reading, and I like went into the comments of this article, and one of them cracked me up so much, so I have to read it. It said, most likely abducted and later killed by interdimensional demonic beings who snatch humans all over the world at an eye's blink. Since we can't see them, but they can see us all right, millions of people have disappeared that way in the last few years without leaving the slightest trace. Demonic forces.
Hey man,
okay,
this person cracked the code. It's closed.
okay, I'm willing.
What was their like username? Like
Yeah.
Big Daddy 69 or something?
Just like
I'm willing.
Yahoo
to-
chat.
Yeah, we're not on Tinder.
It's this person's
honey.
actual name, so I'm not gonna
Oh,
say
okay,
it.
yeah, don't say the actual person's name.
I'm willing to play around with that idea. One of the other theories I was looking, because I was just looking through different, like, what other people think as far as, like, their theories and stuff go, because, like we said in the last episode, David Paulides doesn't really give his theories on what happened. He's just like, here's the facts of these cases.
Mhm.
Do with it what ye will. So, I was curious what other people thought, and one person was like, there's been talk about, like, feral tribesmen living in, like, the woods. Now, this is more so in, like, the South, like, Kentucky, Tennessee, like, in the mountain, like, the Great Smokies in there. And they said one of the things is, like, feral people living in the mountains. And they said that they've had, excuse me, they've had cases similar to that. But again, it's, like, it's hard to prove, especially if they know, like,
You talking
you
like
know.
hills have eyes kind of thing, or you talking like
I-
potential
like people who literally
hate
grew up-
society and just like walked away?
not hermits, like feral people. Like, think of like a feral cat,
Yeah.
only instead of growing up around other cats and animals and stuff like that, they grow up in the woods and wildlife. So
So around other cats and animals.
no, they're like a person growing up in the wildlife without being surrounded by other humans to like teach them how to do certain things, So
I mean,
that's a theory.
What's the goal with that? Like, why would they?
Snatching something, as in, I don't know, cannibalism, or possible like you look like me, so I'm going to take. As in, like, like,
You look me take.
Ludo friend. Like,
Are these cavemen?
I don't know.
I mean, the way she's describing them.
It's the way that it was described online. It was just one of the theories. I'm like, okay.
Like just remote
Okay,
tribes that are still
yeah.
out there, sort of like how out in some of the like private islands and things like that,
Yeah.
there's people like that.
Think about it. Up in like Yellowstone, there's so many areas up there that they're just like, if you go missing, odds are very slim of us finding you. Like, there's still areas of the forest that even the forestry hasn't discovered and like gone through because of how treacherous it is. Whether it's because of mountains or the cave systems, like, so,
Yeah.
you know, we go to outer space, but yet there's still so much of the world that we live in that is left undiscovered. So, cough, cough. Looking at you, Bigfoot.
Because yes, Bigfoot has headphones on right now, listening to our podcast.
I sure as shit hope so.
That goes for you too, Mothman.
Got Tech IT Bigfoot over here, scrolling YouTube. And
There's a reason we haven't found them yet.
Oh man. Yeah, another like theory people were talking about with Stacy was that group that was said to have seen her. Some people are saying that they took her and
that's
killed
what I'm leaning
her.
towards.
But see, if they would have hid her buried her body in the wilderness, she had braces and those don't decay. So if they would have found a body, they would have seen that the braces were there and they would have known it was her. But then again, they didn't find anything other than her.
Yeah, but that's
camera
to assume
lens.
that they killed her right away, right?
Yeah.
Like the thing is they're gonna take her, you know, like kidnap them. I mean, there's crazy people out there,
Yeah.
like that would take and kidnap kids and be like, "Oh, you're our kids, like you belong to us," kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's been actual documentation
Mind
of people
control
doing that kind
and
of stuff.
brainwashing. And,
Mhm. Stockholm
another
syndrome.
theory that I stumbled across through all of this, going kind of, I guess it would kind of piggyback off the interdimensional.
Demon force.
I'm not going to say demons, but just interdimensional beings. There was a story I came across through just, you know, scrolling and looking for more stuff on Reddit. It was more so along the lines of, like, theories I was looking for. I wasn't looking so much for cases. Also because I didn't have enough time to personally look through cases, so, and I didn't want to be a complete piece of shit for this podcast. But I stumbled across a story where there was a gentleman walking through his neighborhood, and he was in like a very rural area. So he was walking past a house where it was like a farmhouse, and he can tell that like there's the house, and then the like back area of the house is backed up against like a forest preserve.
Mhm.
And there must have been someone like hiking through the forest preserve at the time, because this gentleman was walking past the house and, you know, minding his own business, doing his thing, and he looked over and he saw someone walking out of the forest preserve waving. And then he turned and he looked to see who he was waving to, and there was a man and a wife sitting on the porch in front of the house he was walking past. And the husband got up and waved, the woman waved, and the guy looked back at the guy in the forest and was like, oh, okay, they're waving at each other, they must know each other. And just like in the blink of an eye, the guy who was in the forest just kind of like fucking disappeared. Like 1 minute was there, next minute just gone.
Ghost.
Like mid-waving.
Time traveler.
So,
Weird.
well, that's one of the theories, is either A, time traveler, or B, it's like a dimension thing.
Mhm.
Like portals that open up at the right time in the right place, and that person just so happened to be standing at the wrong spot
Yeah.
for that to happen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and that kind of like goes into my next story that I researched about. In the Grand Canyon, there's like these doorway, archway looking things that people have said that they're portals or doorways to a different dimension.
Road trip.
Why does everyone like look at an arch though in nature, and their instant thought is that's a doorway? That's
Because
a
think
portal.
about it. It's when you look at things like portals, think about a majority of shadow people that are seen, more times than not, they're seen in between the doorway.
Mhm.
You know, you're looking through a hallway or you're looking through your door and they're usually standing there.
Mhm.
You know, it's not necessarily the hallway that they're standing in a doorway. It's that in between
Well,
area.
I mean, like I get
That's
it.
why bridges, doorways,
Stairs.
archways, stairs, like the in between, it's a transition, you know?
Well, it's because our brains are conditioned to see these things as you have a start point and you have an end point, as you just said, like a transition into another space.
Right.
So clearly, it's just
Death itself is a transition.
it's going to be like, oh, okay, we see this archway, we see this thing that's looks like a doorway or something, or a window, right? Like,
Mhm.
so I guess it's our brain filling it in to understand it that way, but. It's that whole thing. Anytime anyone in nature sees like something, they're like, it has to be a portal. Like, or it's
It
just,
doesn't necessarily have to be
all the time.
it's
You know,
just nature
sometimes-
eroding away parts of the Grand Canyon, and you know.
Wait, so what about the McDonald's like golden arches?
Oh shit!
What if those are portals?
Double portal.
Double portal.
Mind blown.
But each like arch goes to a different area.
Or
So-
like one's the in doorway,
Yeah,
one's
one's
the
the
out.
The
There you
enter
go.
and the out. McDonald's, hurry! Take that idea, build a building
One
that
archway
way.
really leads to everything being great. Like, I'm loving it. The other one is just like, everything is just god awful. Like, no. Different dimension.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the Grand Canyon and all of their like the rock formations, like making like doorways and stuff like that. Like people say that it's a portal that was made like way back when it like first started like becoming a thing.
Well, that could be too, because when you think about the elements of the Grand Canyon was created, wasn't it glaciers, right? Glaciers and water, and then it evaporated. And
Yeah, like erosion type of.
So water in and of itself is like a conductor
Yes.
of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
So, and naturally, there's quite a few little like energy vortices. Is it vortices? I think. That are natural. You know, Sedona, Arizona is a big one. You know, they've got a lot of that stuff over there. I think there's a couple in Colorado as well. Mount Shasta is another. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of missing 411 stuff in Mount Shasta. But yeah, go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah. Go on, Amanda.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Continue, Amanda.
So, let's see. 22-year-old Morgan Heimer was working for a commercial guide for a rafting company on the Colorado River. And they were on an 8-day trip. They were on day 6 when he disappeared. He was last seen Tuesday, June 2nd at 4 p.m. around River Mile 213 near Pumpkin Springs in the Grand Canyon National Park. He was reported missing at around 7:30 on the same day by a member of the river trip following a swim in the river by the group. He was wearing a personal flotation device, so they ruled out drowning at first. Apparently there was another trip leader that was talking to some people that were on the trip with them, and he was standing by the river's edge, and when the trip leader turned around, he was gone. And he was very outdoorsy. Obviously, he's on a rafting trip, and he works for a rafting company. But he definitely had the skills and abilities to perform the job and be a person that would be likely
Be able
found.
to survive or
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they searched for him they had rescue teams. They searched like a 12-mile radius around the area looking for him, and they didn't get anything. The search was about 6 days long, and yeah, they again never found anything.
What year was this again? Sorry.
This was, I believe, in 2010.
Oh, okay.
I think. If
That
I'm
wasn't that long
remembering
ago.
correctly. I'll have to double check. Yeah, 2010.
So he didn't have like a phone on him or anything?
Or wait, no, it's 2015. My bad.
Oh, wow. Even more recent.
Yeah.
So he didn't have a phone on him or anything?
It doesn't say anything about a phone, so I'm guessing he probably did because hell, it's 2015. Like everybody has a phone at this point.
Right.
Yeah, but it was said that he told one of the lead guides that he was going to take some time off and just go for like a little hike, and then he was on the river's edge and disappeared. So,
Moral of the story: never, ever, ever go on a hike, either by yourself or decide to get a little, spicy and get ahead of the group. Because odds are you will fucking disappear off the face of the earth and just become another missing 411 case.
yeah, pretty much.
Get a little spicy.
So he was wearing his life vest while he was
Yes.
on the hike?
Yes, because they had just gotten off of the river.
That's a little sus to me.
But,
Yeah.
well, the one thing is like, well, that's the assumption, right?
Yeah.
Like, they saw him
With it on.
with it on, but he easily could have taken it off, and then he's over by, you said the river's edge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So loose slate or whatever is
Yeah.
corresponding across that, like, that edge.
Mhm.
Breaks loose, or he slips and he loses footing. He falls in, and it was rapids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like going down the river. Therefore, he's taken by the rapids, smacks his head or something like that. So he loses consciousness. He drowns. The rapids pull him underneath. And with a lot of like those areas, they have where underneath like the rock formations, they're so carved out where you can get your body pushed up and wedged underneath those things,
Mm-hmm.
and your body's could be trapped there for a long time before
There's
it finally
gotta be
breaks
so many
loose.
bodies under there.
There is I forget where it's at, but there is a place where basically they have signs everywhere and they warn everyone if you fall in, you're gone. Like no one's coming in to rescue you because they can't. Because it looks calm like on the top, but if you fall in, the rapids underneath that push, the undercurrent is so damn strong and it's carved out over the millennia.
I'm trying
Like
to like
all
find
these
a-
underwater caves, and it will
river
literally
map.
trap you. And there's apparently rumors like 50 to 100 bodies just still trapped in these underwater caves that no one can ever get out because they can't.
This is why I only swim in pools.
Yeah. This more and more doing this podcast never makes me
You're
want
like-
to never leave the fucking house again.
I'm gonna stay in my house.
Yep.
This
Pretty much.
is a nice chair.
Yeah.
Why leave it?
I want to
Yeah.
look at nature. I'll throw on a screensaver.
Yeah, I almost
That's-
drowned going down a water slide once, so I
Oops.
think I'm...
And National Geographic
Yes.
will just be my friend from now on.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. And at one point, they actually found a body in the Colorado River, and at first they thought it was him, but it wasn't. It was
Just another rando.
yeah. But it was also someone that worked for a rafting company.
Okay,
So-
if someone who works for a rafting company is one of the bodies that's actually like washing up on shore, I don't do it. Just don't.
Sign me up.
No. No.
Yeah.
No.
Take me on this excursion, please.
I'm looking at a map right now of the Colorado River, and holy shit, this thing is long. It like
Oh, brother.
that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ish different states that it just kind of like
Mhm.
either snakes through or like goes along the border, and then it even like empties out. What is that? The Gulf of Mexico? Is that what that is? I can't.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Oh, wait, here we go. The Gulf of California.
There's a gulf in California.
I
I
mean,
guess so.
according to this map, there is. Can you tell we're from the Midwest? But I'm assuming the Gulf of California like empties out into the Pacific. Wait, did I say the Gulf of Mexico?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
I'm a dumbass. I'm also geographically challenged, so.
Lauren, where are we located right now?
Shut up. I, once upon a time, thought the redwood forest was located in New York, so.
I have questions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do I have to allude to forest-dwelling buffalo? I know nothing.
I don't know. That's my
man.
theory, is that he
Got
slipped
stuck
and
in
fell.
one of those.
I don't know if the Colorado River has any of those things,
Right.
but if he was
Yeah.
still in an area where there's rapids and everything, right? Like, even if there isn't, like, him slipping and falling in there, like, even if he had a life jacket on, he hits his head, maybe he's face down in the water,
Yeah.
still drowning, like,
That's true. You can drown in a puddle, really, if you think
Mhm.
about it.
all you need is just a few inches of water, because, like, all you have to do is cover your nose and your mouth where you can't breathe, and that's it. So a cup of water could definitely take you out.
God,
Yeah.
we suck as humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
And they never found anything
Nope.
of him?
Nothing. Not a single thing.
Or his break was like, he just didn't know how to say, hey, I quit and I'm not coming back. So he's like, I'm just going to go on a little break. And then he's just like booked it out of there. Had like an off-road vehicle waiting for him deep in the woods and just
Well, I
zooped
mean,
out.
that's always possible, but
Our third biggest theory is people just say fuck it to the lives they lead. They fake their
Yeah.
deaths
It's
and then they start
happened.
over.
Yeah.
Honestly, it doesn't sound bad
Right.
now.
I know.
Right?
I've contemplated the idea probably like 7 times this week. One for every day. So
oh yeah, definitely.
I don't know. That's my theory.
Yeah.
What do you guys got?
You want me to go next?
well, I don't
Wait,
have
theory or
anything.
about?
Well,
Our next
theory.
case.
If you guys got a theory, hit us with a theory. What do you think happened to either one of these cases?
Hit us with a Diddy Cassidy.
Like, okay, so the Colorado one, easier to sort of like lean on the whole fact that he slipped in, right?
Yeah.
What about Flip Flop Girl?
I think she got kidnapped.
Yeah, I don't think she just decided to leave on her own.
Yeah,
like,
no.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, in the 80s it was different, but most.
Yeah, but who's running away in flip flops?
Yeah, in the middle of a forest preserve or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, that's not the place
Don't
that you're
bust a
gonna
toe.
do it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna do it.
There's a lot of pretty savvy 14-year-olds. I think about the shit that I think about, and I'm like,
I think
it
there's a
could
lot
have
of
easily
14-year-olds who think they're savvy.
Yeah.
Well, there's that too.
I don't
But-
think any 14-year-old out there is actually savvy.
We don't know what her upbringing is. We don't know what her,
That's
her
true.
background
Yeah, we
is
don't
know
with
her
some of that
background.
stuff.
Yeah, and they did say that
you
she was
know.
having family issues.
Yeah, that's the thing that stuck out for me. She was having family issues. We don't know. Like, maybe this was also something she was thinking about. She was training herself. Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts weren't always about just selling popcorn and cookies. Once upon a time, they actually learned how to do some survival shit.
What?
Yeah.
So
Didn't learn how to just go and knock on doors and be like, you want some popcorn? You want my Girl Scout
can you
cookies?
buy these for my my scout troop?
I thought you were going to say, can you buy this so I can get a scooter? There's a sick
Hey.
razor up for it, but I could go
they
down
give
to the
you-
store and buy one for $80, or I could sell $5,000 worth of cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, we don't know what the background is with some of these cases. Like,
No, and that's true.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying like she didn't run away.
Right.
I'm just saying the higher possibility is that she was potentially kidnapped.
so murdered / kidnapped.
Possibly.
Possibly. Either faked her own death and disappeared. And the next plausible thing is aliens.
I was waiting for it.
No.
I didn't
But-
see anything about aliens about this girl.
That's the thing
So-
about aliens. You never see anything about them until they're there. And
I
then
might get you a
nobody
tinfoil
remembers.
hat.
You talk like you have alien experience.
Right.
Did you
Were
get
you
do, you
abducted?
need, do you need to tell us something?
There's
Maybe.
something you
Was
need to
that-
tell us on a podcast for maybe next episode?
It explains a lot. Actually.
Yeah.
Damn. All right, Cassidy. You got what? Bobby Bizup?
Bobby buys up.
Buys up, my bad.
Yeah. And this is another case that happened in Colorado.
Colorado, I'm telling
Yeah.
you.
Freaking Colorado, man. I love Colorado, but I don't know. After like reading some of these, I'm just like, maybe I don't want to go hiking
This
in
is all
Colorado.
before weed was legalized there.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so this case is interesting though because it's kind of coming back into the news again. It originally happened in 1958. So Bobby was a 10-year-old boy. He attended a summer camp, and it was called Camp St. Malo. And that was.
I know this story.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
but go ahead.
Yeah, this was right around like Estes Park, which I've been to, and Estes Park is awesome. But anyway, it was a Catholic camp for boys, and it was located on the border of the Rocky Mountains National Park. And I guess it was more like a Boy Scout type camp. It wasn't as much like they didn't do as much like religious practices and stuff.
Did
Even
they
though
sell popcorn?
did they sell popcorn? I don't know. I hope so. But it was run by priests and seminarians. And the building is still there, but it's no longer running. So Bobby, he was born mostly deaf, and he wore a hearing aid, but that didn't really seem to help him too much. And so he relied mostly on like sign language to communicate. So on August 15th, he was outside fishing, and a counselor approached him and told him that, like, hey, Bobby, it's time to head back for dinner. So as the counselor was walking away, he looked and he saw that Bobby was, like, trailing behind him. So he kept going, but then eventually looked back again at some point and then saw that Bobby was no longer behind him. So they went on a search, and that search lasted for 4 days. There was a civil air patrol that dropped like over 5,000 leaflets all around the area within like a 200-mile radius of where he was last seen. Over 300 people helped in the search, and they were looking over 16 square miles and even extended like 11,000 feet up Mount Meeker and 4 miles in each direction. So they looked everywhere. And I mean, like, freaking 5,000 leaflets posted in that small of an area. So, like, pretty much that whole area is probably full of leaflets, like, from his parents, basically, like, if you know anything like, of where Bobby is, or Bobby, please come home type of thing. It was all over. But bloodhounds searched the woods, and then skin divers were investigating all of the surrounding ponds. And they didn't find anything. So the only thing that they did find was a bait box, and that was left in the spot that where Bobby was last seen fishing before he left with the counselor. And so one of the men that was running the camp believed that he would just turn up and was like, oh, he's just, playing a really good game of hide and seek. He'll be back.
Yeah, 4 days.
Right? Like, but this,
He's committed.
This was in the 50s, so they were like, oh, yeah, kids being kids, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Serial killers and shit like that, they weren't, in the 50s, they weren't really that known. They weren't, I mean, you had some off things here and there, but even the term serial killer wasn't coined until, what, the 70s or something like that?
Yeah, I think you're right.
So,
Yeah.
Completely different era back then. That was the type of era where you could just be like, all right, I'm gonna let my kids just play out in the streets, just make sure you're back home when the street lamps come up.
Yeah, because that term wasn't more of a thing until like the Charles Manson era and stuff, right? Like,
So it's completely different. They didn't have the same.
But
I mean, it's
4
not saying that it
days
wasn't happening.
of
Yeah.
hide and seek.
Yeah, it's a
It's-
little extreme, but you know,
Yeah.
that'd be a very dedicated game of hide and seek.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
So on August 25th is when the search ended, and some people claim to see him walking around Estes Park. And Estes Park was about 15 miles north of where the camp was located. And they thought like they saw him walking around the town, but then later it was confirmed that it wasn't Bobby. And then there was another instance where there were men working at a hardware store in town, and they said that a boy came in who resembled Bobby, and when they asked him questions, he pointed to his mouth and his ears, and then left the store like quickly afterwards before they could ask any more follow-up questions, which was kind of interesting. So a year later, on June 6, 1959, 3 of the counselors that worked at the camp, including one that was part of the original search, came across his hearing aid, scraps of clothing, and small bones, which were all later confirmed to be Bobby's. And those things were found about 3.5 miles from where the camp was located and 2,500 feet up on Mount Meeker, which, like, they searched that whole area. Like, so it doesn't really make sense why they just found that now. But
And this was after he was seen at the
yes.
hardware
it's just
store.
like a year, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because that happened relatively, like, soon after he was first reported missing.
Okay.
But so some people argue that, like, you know, because he was deaf, he could have just gotten lost. And obviously, you know, he couldn't have been able to hear people that were like calling out for him, and you know, maybe his death was just accidental, you know, and they originally kind of declared it to be a result of just physical exhaustion, you know, him just walking around, something happened, and then, like, you know.
Yeah.
But the plot twist with this, though, is that the camp itself has a very dark history. So between 1954 and 1958, there was a priest there that was sexually abusing a young boy. And one of the times that happened was at Camp Malo, along with two of his other brothers that were all victims. And 2 priests affiliated with that camp also had a history of sexual abuse, and they were counselors for years and were both there the year of his disappearance in 1958. So Neil Hewitt, which was one of the counselors that knew Bobby, and the same counselor that found his remains during a hike, yeah, said at the time of the investigation that he was one of the last people to see Bobby, but he didn't do anything to him. Like,
I'm
What,
calling
you
bullshit.
think he's just gonna be like,
Is he sure?
yeah, I didn't do anything to him? Or you think he's going to be like, yeah, I totally did something to him, but then he went disappeared, so
yeah. It's very suspicious. So Bobby's case is now being reopened after everything with Hewitt, among others at the camp, were discovered to have this history of like sexual abuse. And you know, Bobby, he was an only child. His parents have both passed at this point. But he does have one remaining family member left, his cousin, and she's very supportive of them reopening the case in hopes that they can,
good.
you know,
yeah.
yeah.
So why are they reopening the case? Like, is it just because they found this stuff now, or are they just reopening it?
Yeah, because the
to
person who was the
go-
last person to see him, basically, who was up on the mountain with him, who was like, yeah, I told him it's dinner time or whatever, and it's time to come back, and turns around, oh, he's not there. He's one of the people who had this dark
Yeah.
stuff
Oh,
attached
so
to him.
that
Which was
came out.
where I was
Okay.
thinking, because originally when I first
That,
heard the story
yeah,
a few years ago,
when you were explaining this, I was just like, I'm immediately like just getting a really bad vibe from this. And then when you said, oh, well, it has a dark history, I didn't know it was because of the dark history being unearthed that, like, okay, now it's
Yeah.
taking.
As they did more
starting to connect
investigating
dots.
and kind of digging up these people's past that were affiliated with the camp, I think that was when
Yeah.
the red flags started going off, and they were like, yeah.
how long ago did they reopen that case?
Just recently, actually, because a lot of the articles that are coming up now were from like 2019. So this is like a fairly
Yeah, because I was going to say a few years ago I heard this story, and I remember thinking, I was like having the same thought, where I usually do with a lot of these cases, that there's another person involved who is causing these disappearances
you see
and
more
stuff, right?
human
I see more
interaction with
human
that.
interaction before I will leap to that paranormal thing. And him being like, oh, yeah, I was the last one to see him. And now instantly, like, they're saying, oh, within 2019,
if there's
hey,
no other witnesses.
he has claims of abusing children in the past. And it's like, what is he going to do? Like, this kid is
and to think
basically
about it,
deaf, and they're in the middle of the woods,
and it
secluded.
was the 50s. Like, they're nowhere near as open and accepting of the deaf community as, we are to this day. And even now we have leaps and bounds of where we should be. But imagine going into a store, you can't really communicate with them, and you point to your ears and you're pointing to your mouth saying, like, I can't understand what you're saying, but I have to communicate. Like, he could have been trying to communicate something to them, being like, I need help or I need something, and...
Because the fact he left so quickly and, like, didn't stay, like, maybe, he was worried someone was going to find him and wanted to just leave, like, right away.
Or he was trying to seek help. And think about it. You're trying to get help from somebody, but you can't communicate, Okay, say... I'm in a foreign country and a tragedy's happened, but I was the only one to witness it, and I have to try and explain it to someone who speaks a completely different language. And I'm trying to get out what I'm trying to say and trying to get them to understand it, but there's that language barrier. Like, and why am I going to keep talking to the same person that still isn't understanding what I'm trying to say? I'm not going to stand there and linger.
It's wasting time.
I'm going to cut out and try and find somebody else. And who's to say how many people he'd gone through at that point before he either gave up
Estes Park is a small town, too. Okay. It's not that big. Okay. So, like, there probably wasn't a ton of options for him.
How long? So that one counselor who was the last to see him, right? When did he report that he was missing? Like that same day?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. And then they saw what they believed to be Bobby in that other town, like what, that same day as well, or like a next day or something?
Find a specific date of when they saw, like when those people at the hardware store reported that. But I'm assuming it was relatively right in that time when they were still doing an active search, within that like week. But and it's weird how he found the remains. After they searched that whole area, and then all of a sudden that guy finds them.
And now he's finally got to clear something. Be like, oh, I went back and I just found it. Like, no, that's bullshit.
Quote unquote.
How old is he now? Was there an age given to this counselor at this point?
I think he might have passed by now. I think he passed away.
Okay, so this was probably his way of trying to
clear his conscience.
Yeah, exactly. Of being like, oh, wow, I did this. Like, it was one thing of being like, oh, I've done this stuff in the past, but they've all moved on and moved on with their lives kind of thing. But this is the one
forgives,
where,
those who ask.
Yeah, and but like for this was the extreme case where he was like, oh, this isn't going to sit right kind of thing, and it went too far. And
how am I going to explain this to the big guy when I get up there? I better try and make amends.
Unfortunately, killed him somehow, and maybe carried his body off the mountain kind of thing, and then hid it somewhere. And then over the years, he decided I need to make amends, right, in some way, instead of admitting, oh, hey, I did this terrible deed, arrest me kind of thing. I'm going to die in a few years anyways. Like, he's just like, oh, no, I'll just do this. Maybe it'll help the family get some peace. Like, oh, hey, we found some remains here. So I don't know. Now, that's speculation, of course, but it's really what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. Makes me sick. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There was, I think one of the Colorado like news stations or something, one of the reporters like was able to find someone that was affiliated in that with the camp, like, and tried talking with him. I don't know if it was another counselor or just someone like who just happened to like be there at the time or whatever, but I wasn't able to find like the full like video of it. Because I'm really curious now, like what he had to say, but I know like the reporter like went to his home, and like I think he was there with like his wife, and like he wanted to ask him questions about everything, and just from the little snippet I got, that guy looked super uncomfortable about all of it too, and he's like, yeah, I remember like that case and everything, but
Mhm.
like I think they released like a 3-part special on this. So I'm gonna have to see if I can find it. I wasn't able to find anything, but it's got to be out there somewhere.
Yeah.
So if anyone's more curious about it, like I'm pretty sure there's got to be a way to find it.
Please tell me somebody has a more crazy, wild story because you don't want to leave it off on that note.
No, I don't.
Well, I mean, I just pulled up something here, so we'll just go ahead. I'm just going to read this because this one has it where the child that went missing, he was found, right? So, like, he came back, he was safe, all of that. So we'll go into that. So I'm just going to read this one. It says, on October 1st of 2010, a 3.5-year-old, and it says John Doe, so I'm thinking that it's one of those where the families don't want.
To protect their
Exactly.
identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it says the 3.5-year-old and his relatives were camping by a popular fly fishing location near Mount Shasta. Around 6 p.m., the child's parents realized their son had suddenly gone missing. According to the father, his youngster was there 1 second and gone the next. They scoured the entire area. He was last seen in complete panic-stricken horror, like any parent who would lose their child would.
Right.
Let's see here. After multiple hours of frantically searching for him, they still couldn't find him. Desperate, they called the police, and then they kicked off with the United States Forest Service and rescue personnel. They personnel Jesus, personal Jesus. He came in and he helped try to find this boy. So they're
On Mount Shasta.
on Shasta. So after 5 hours, as according to what they're calling him, John had disappeared, and authorities found him laying down in a brush directly next to the trail that they had searched multiple times and where he was last seen. So his parents literally scoured that entire area before they called, because his basically what it was is they were walking down the trail to go back to their campground. The dad looks, son's behind him, maybe walks a couple more feet, turns around, looks, he's gone. And then local police, everybody else comes in. They're searching that same area, 6-mile radius kind of thing. And then hours later, oh, there he is, where you literally last saw him. So they grabbed him. Everyone was pretty much just exhausted, but super happy that they found their child. Basically, they took him to a hospital. The doctor said, they're going to be psychological trauma possibly, but everything else medically, he checks out. He's fine to take home. So they do that, and one day the kid is with his grandmother, Kathy, who he calls Cabby, Kappy. And while he was playing with her, he looks at her and he says, he didn't like the other Grandma Cappy. And she's like, what do you mean the other Grandma Cappy? He's like, well, when I went missing, he's in the woods, last year, he was the other Grandma Cappy took me down a mountainside into a cave, and he's and this whole cave was completely infested with spiders. And he's with all these motionless humanoid-like people. He's I don't know, robots, right? Like, and you got to think it's like he's 4.5, 5 years old. So
Right.
she's sort of the grandmother's relaying the story of how she's understanding what he's talking about. And the grandparents like sort of just like look at him and they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, there's these eerie lights radiating from her head. He's like, that's when I realized it wasn't you. And she's like, and she kept asking me all these questions, but I didn't have answers to any of these questions. So she said that she was going to take me back. So he's like, that's all I remember. And next thing I know, I'm being, found and I'm reunited with my parents. So he, upon hearing this disturbing story, Kathy and her older son, as well as like the grandfather, they're looking at each other and they remember a weird incident and story that they had a year prior at the same campground. So while they were out hiking by themselves, they kept seeing this creature off in the distance with these glowing eyes. Well, they go back to the campground and they both go to sleep. Kathy stays in the tent and the son stays in like the camper, and they go to sleep, and next thing they know, they wake up in like early in the morning and they're both outside of their, like, she's outside of her tent facing the dirt and the son is out of his camper facing the dirt. And they both wake up and they're like deathly ill, like feeling just super sick, like a nasty hangover, like flu kind of thing. And they both look at each other and like, what the hell happened? Well, they're looking at each other and they realize they have like these puncture marks that look like spider bites on like the back of their necks. And basically they're like, well, maybe we got bit by a spider and it caused us to be delirious and stumble out of our camp. But that's where they sort of just like left it and left the campground kind of thing. But hearing her grandson's story about going to a cave with someone that looked like her in a cave infested with literal
alien spiders.
Oh my God.
I was waiting for it.
So that's the crazy one. So like it was sort of
crazy
weird,
or the one that gives us the most evidence towards flying fucking aliens.
Yes, you have spider creatures, flying saucers.
Aliens. Okay? Like, they try to look human, but they don't have the same features as human. Like, they're trying to do all that. It's fucking aliens.
Well, you said robots, so.
Alien robots.
Sorry to everyone's ears.
Alien fucking robots.
I mean, I don't have any idea other than either
aliens,
how they're describing it actually happened, or it was some hell of a fever dream
of aliens.
Well, and there's always that, like, he's a kid, and maybe these people are dressing up to, like, make it seem like more.
Someone's got a mask of his grandmother.
Yeah, maybe. Well, not like that, but like.
Well, he just said the other Cappy, right?
Yeah.
The other Cappy.
Maybe it was just another older woman that.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe Cap. He doesn't.
That's
he didn't
true.
Have
He was 3.5-year-old.
Okay.
So maybe he saw another woman who looked like his grandmother and assumed.
Or he doesn't realize that the right word for, like, instead of Cappy, because that's what he calls his grandma, or whatever her name, Kathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever he calls her. What if he doesn't know that that's not the name? Like, it's like another grandma, so it could just be another woman. So he's like, okay, Cappy. And they're like, what do you mean other Cappy? And he's like, oh, other Cappy that was in this cave.
He says that it looked exactly like her. He was saying, though, it looked exactly like his grandmother.
So it could have just been A, another old person.
Doppelganger.
B, yes, alien doppelganger.
Why is it always alien?
Because, why not? Why not aliens? B, alien feral humanoid creatures
I mean, she
living,
has a point. Why
living
not?
in the forests and they could train the spider. Like
They trained the spiders to go into campgrounds.
So another
and bite
reason
people.
why I'm not going hiking.
Yeah, because alien humanoid creatures stealing people, dragging them into caves, and they're domestically acquired spiders that they've trained. I'm telling you, aliens.
But the grandma, so she doesn't really remember anything other than just waking up and being like...
No, well, that was the thing. Like, they just
She was
remember,
probed,
like, going
obviously.
into the night, or, like, camping into the night kind of thing, and seeing those glowing eyes sort of, like, watching them throughout the trail, like, that they were hiking.
The only other thing with
And they
glowing
decided,
eyes,
like, let's turn around because this is weird, and we just thought, like, they were thinking an animal was stalking them. So they turned around, and they were like, you know what, like, we'll just go back to the campground, light a fire,
It's
call the night
Mothman.
kind of thing. And so that's what they did. But then, yeah, they
it
woke
could have
up.
been a weird Mothman creature with the glowing eyes.
Or it could have been an animal.
Alien.
Well, I mean, you can get bit by shit and then it start to hallucinate, you know?
Yeah.
So
That's where they always just summed it up till. But now she's like, well, that's just weird because, you know, a year later, that family goes to that same campground in Mount Shasta, and the grandson goes missing for like almost 6 hours, and then is retelling the story about, oh yeah, I saw you, but it was the other you, you know. So I don't know. It's
Was
weird.
it one puncture mark or two that they had?
It doesn't say. They just said it looked like spider bites, so I'm assuming
Two.
two.
Yeah.
Because that's what they, like, both looked at each other, and they both, like, saw that they both had bite marks on them, essentially, or these puncture marks. So they assumed that it was spider bites,
Mm-hmm.
and that it
probes.
caused them to be delirious and sort of get sick, and they ended up stumbling out and passing out on the ground. So,
It's
like,
weird
some
that
sort
they
of
both have it.
poison
Like,
or venom.
because if they were close to each other, it would be, wait, were they found like right by each other, or like
Well,
not
they woke
found,
up,
but like
she woke up before the sun or whatever, and it doesn't specify like distance or anything.
Okay.
They were just literally at the same campground, like
yeah,
I would assume near, because she had a tent right outside the camper,
yeah,
and they were both. She was laying down near like where the fire pit was, and he was laying like literally like right out to the door of where the camper was.
okay,
So I'm assuming maybe 12 feet, maybe
Okay.
less than that.
what year was this again?
2010. So 2010 for the kid, and so that makes it 2009 for the grandmother and sons. And
So they didn't go to an actual doctor and have them look at these like bites on the
No,
neck?
because I guess
or-
like as the day went on and as they were packing out for the camp, they felt fine. So they just
Yeah,
assumed, like,
that's
kind of
weird.
thing. So I don't know.
yeah, because
I mean, like, think about it. Like, would you, like, I know.
Yes, if I was hallucinating, I woke up with my face in the dirt and I had
they don't know if
bite
they were
marks on me, then
hallucinating.
Yes, I would go see a doctor
I
about it.
would
Okay,
see multiple doctors.
See, I wouldn't, I
I'd be-
guess. I would be like,
I'd be
oh, I'm starting to feel
concerned.
okay. Like, I'll be fine.
Well, especially because it's like, you know, your grandson or whatever. It's not just you, you know, like I would be like, yeah, we should at least get checked out.
Well, it was her older son, and then the grandson, he didn't have anything. He just went missing for those few hours.
Oh, okay.
Because that was a year after her and her older son's, like, incident, you know?
yeah, that's weird.
So, yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
Told you I had a weird one.
Yeah, I actually just found another one where someone was found, quote unquote. In February of 2018, a Canadian man named Danny.
DeVito.
Nope. I'm just going to say Danny because I don't even want to pronounce his last name.
Trejo. Machete.
Was on a ski trip with his friends in New York, and around 2 p.m. they had been at this point skiing for hours, and they were getting ready to go back to the lodge. And Danny had said that he wanted to go back to the top for one more run down the mountain before their lunch break. And by 4 p.m., he wasn't returning anyone's calls or texts, and everybody was concerned at this point, as they should be, obviously. But they began searching for him, and after not finding anything or finding him, they told the employees at the lodge that he was missing, and then a team of 130 people scoured the mountain without finding him. And then 6 days later, his wife received a phone call. She didn't recognize the number on the caller ID, but when she answered the phone, the person on the other line, like, it sounded like far away and staticky, and she realized it was Danny's voice. But he was very confused and incoherent, and then he just hung up the phone. And so she called the number back and told him that he needs to call 911 for help. But he had no idea where he was, and he described, like, his surroundings and all of that. When the paramedics finally found him, he was still wearing all of his ski gear, and he needed a lot of medical assistance. Apparently he was holding a brand new iPhone, and someone had cut his hair.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, so he was holding an iPhone that wasn't his?
Mm-hmm. It was a brand new one.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Someone cut his hair?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice.
Get a free haircut, get a nice free phone. Like,
Yeah, are they looking for anyone else to
Do
get?
I find them or do they come to me?
maybe the government like took them. And
I
they were
don't
like,
know. But
yeah,
keep
we're
in
gonna test 'em
mind,
with something.
they were in New York when he went missing. Somehow
Like city? Like
it just says New York. It doesn't say
concrete
specifically.
jungle?
No.
Yeah, he went skiing in the
Somewhere.
concrete jungle.
Yeah.
He was just like, they just set up every year, like,
Off the
just-
Empire
really
State
weird
Building.
Empire State Court.
You know what?
They set up
Don't
a
even.
snow mountain.
Have you
like,
seen the
snow
last
path.
couple times that we had Snowmageddon out here? So it could have been one of those times.
Well, okay. But anyways, he was in New York when he went missing.
Sorry. Like, you're like doodling over here, not really, you're only half paying attention. Wait.
Paying attention.
He was found in New York City. No, she just said New York. In the concrete jungle. Did you not hear he was skiing?
Again, look at the pictures we've had from Snowmageddon these past, like, within the last decade. There's a lot of fucking snow out there.
This is really some of our
So-
best work.
Yeah,
on this
it really
episode.
is.
Like, I'm not fucking crazy. I mean, last year there's pictures of, like, people standing on top of cars because of how much snow there was. Or was that the
Yeah.
year prior? You know, it's just that.
Okay, but do you go ski down like a slope of like 6 feet, or do you go to like a big ass mountain?
It's if you have enough creativity, you can go skiing down whatever the fuck you want, okay? But I'm just saying, you know, it's
He just like, it's so icy on Fifth Avenue. He's just like skiing down the road. Like,
oh, I hate you.
anyway, so where was he actually found?
So he was found in Sacramento, California,
What the fuck?
near an airport terminal car rental depot. He was
So what he did, he got
3,000
super
miles-
fucking high, rented a car, drove his ass to California, went to Burning Man, didn't even realize it, and then was like, what the fuck happened?
I want to be the
It's a
type of rich.
6-day drug fest.
I want to be the type of rich that I can black out in New York, show up in California with a brand new iPhone, and
A
be
fresh haircut,
and getting ready
styling
to
your ski gear.
Wait, so but couldn't they trace like who set the iPhone up and like how, have any record of where the iPhone came from? Because
You would assume, but I'm not seeing anything about them doing that. But yeah, he was 3,000 miles away from where he disappeared, and he couldn't remember how he got there, and he had no idea what day it was. When he had learned where he was and how long people had been looking for him, he got like super emotional. leading.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're losing like a bunch of days that you thought like that you were gonna live through, and it's like, well, shit.
It's not even just that. It's the fact that you just wake up after like 6 days, not even remembering the past 6 days.
Me in
And
Vegas
you're
every time I
literally
visit.
like super incoherent with everything. And then the fact that you're like, wait, you guys, I've been missing for 6 days. My wife thinks I was probably fucking dead. Like, friends and other family think I was probably dead up on a mountain pass. And like, so like the turmoil they went through during that, like, hey, at least he was found. Like,
Yeah. There was a theory that he had been kidnapped and put in the back of a like big rig truck, and that's how he got to California.
is any of his organs missing?
No.
Ooh, that's actually a really good question.
Because I'm also wondered sometimes if there's people like kidnapping people for
Their organs.
Yeah,
organ
sell black
sex
market.
trafficking, like all that kind of stuff. Like you think about that 14-year-old girl who went missing,
Yeah.
right? And they never found
Yeah.
a trace of her. What if
There's traces of her everywhere. We just don't know it.
what? What does that even mean?
Like inside people, you know,
Face
like
palm.
there's a liver walking around over here. There's like her spleen
Oh
and
my
something
God.
else.
Wow.
Lord, I'm gonna cut you off before we start offending people.
Pieces of her everywhere.
Damn.
Jesus Christ.
Wow. Those eyes are really pretty. They remind me of this person I once knew. Like,
Chucky.
damn. Like, no, but I mean, honestly, like, it's a serious thing because, like, you think
Yeah.
about it, like, you've had people getting kidnapped from,
Good question.
like,
The way you phrased it.
suburbs and cities and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
they just go missing, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely like a huge possibility, and like with like sex trafficking and all that stuff, like they can, or like the child trafficking, whatever it's called. I never even know what the actual term is. They change their names, like, and they change their appearances, so like they could get to the point where they don't even realize who they actually are.
Yeah,
because
and I mean,
of all
they
this
ship 'em
brainwashing
overseas
and-
stuff like that, too.
Yeah.
So it's like, they just would be like if they vanished off the face of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But that's weird though, because it sounds like he wasn't missing any.
Yeah,
of
it
his
was
organs.
just
No,
like
that's why I was
a-
just like, what if it was a possibility, right? Like, what if they went to
Yeah.
kidnap him and they had the intention of,
using him for something, and
using
then
him for something?
there was something that
I think that's
kind of-
definitely probably happened in
Oh,
quite
yeah.
a few of those missing 411
Yeah.
cases.
yeah.
What if he found a magic mushroom up on the...
I mean,
Mountain
that's
Pass, and
always
he
a
was just like-
possibility.
I can go for a little snack, and he eats it, and next thing you know, 6 days later he's
And then we're right
got a
smack
nice-
dab in the
nice new
crucible.
And then the aliens come and abduct him. And
he had a 6-day rave party with the aliens
Yeah.
up in space.
I mean, hey,
Had some of their,
goals.
alien alcohol, and
And then
just
Bigfoot dropped
him out.
in, and it was like a whole thing.
and then Mothman just like swung the door open, like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, bitches."
Okay, and you
Mhm.
guys were making fun of
freaking
me
disco
earlier.
fever over here.
We're still making fun of you.
Yeah,
Fuck off.
It's called sarcasm.
we do it with love.
Yeah,
Always.
friends like you.
Who needs enemies?
Oh my god!
Lauren, you got to talk in the microphone. If you're gonna...
Oh my god!
There you go. That's a little better. There you go.
Oh yeah. So, what are all the theories that we?
Wait, wasn't that in
Because
Mount
there's-
Shasta? Wasn't that case
Shasta.
or Shasta?
Shasta.
Mount.
It doesn't
Shasta.
say exactly.
All right,
what-
Big Apple skier over here. Don't you get all technical with me. He's just skating down Fifth Avenue. Any place can be a ski resort if you try hard enough.
Is that how the pop got its name? Shasta?
Maybe.
Call me Dr. Thunder, Mount Shasta.
Shasta?
Shasta.
Yeah, it doesn't say what.
Because I feel like I heard that story before, and I thought it was on that same mountain.
It very well could be.
Because there was another story, and I forget the name, but I remember, I forget the guy's name. I was listening to it a few days ago, and it was the same thing. He wanted to fully conquer Mount Shasta, and it was like, I think it's like a 14,000. Is it Shasta? We keep interchanging it. Regardless.
Whatever your heart's desire.
I want to conquer Mount Shasta.
Like, so he set out with like 2 of his other friends, and they get up to a lake that's on there that's like really close. I think it's like maybe 600, 700 feet from the top of the mountain. And they all had altitude sickness, and they all decided, hey, we're gonna stay here for the night, camp here just before we go and finish the rest of the climb.
Where was the climb?
Up your ass, all right? That's where it was. And he couldn't sleep at all throughout the night and everything, and he woke up that early that morning, and his 2 other friends were still feeling sort of sick, and he's like, you know what, guys? I set out to finish this, and I'm going to do that, like, but I'm just going to leave now. I'm already packed. I didn't sleep. And they're like, okay, we don't like the idea of us splitting up, but it's a wide open trail. It's not even near any, like, cliffs or anything. It's a fairly, I guess, I wouldn't say an easy climb, but there's no, like, trees. There's nothing. It's pretty much just really open and a straight shot up. I guess they said, like, 650 feet or something like that. So he goes up there and everything like that, and one of his other friends, like, you know, like maybe an hour after that is like, you know what, I'm gonna go and do it too. And the other friend's like, I'm done, like, I'm really feeling this altitude sickness, I'm not gonna push myself. So he stays. The other friend goes up, and he thinks it's weird because he's like, well, I don't see him going up the summit, so he's like, maybe he's already up there. And so he gets up to the top of the summit, and he doesn't see his friend up there. So he's like, oh, maybe he sat down somewhere and I didn't see it. So he turns around and he's walking back down, and he still doesn't see his friend. He gets back to the campground, and he asks his other buddy, like, hey, did you see so-and-so? And he's like, no, I still haven't seen him. Mm-hmm. So they get down to the bottom of the thing, let the people know, like, they call authorities, and they start searching for this guy. And they interviewed everyone that was up there, because there was like over 100 people that day that he went missing that were all up on that, like, top near that summit. Mm-hmm. And no one saw him. They literally can't find any footsteps, or just, there's nothing. Like, he just vanished off the face of the earth kind of thing. And still to this day, like, no one knows what happened to him, where he went, or anything like that. And it's so open that there's really no animals that venture up that high, because there's just really nothing for them.
Right, yeah.
So they're still to this day, they have no idea what happened to them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you guys have any other stories, like, about missing 411 cases that you have come across, throw them our way. We're super interested in this kind of stuff.
Throw them at us.
Yeah. But before we wrap up this podcast, let's just, like, kind of go over theories just a little bit. I know we've talked about it throughout, but, like, just to kind of, like, pinpoint all of them. We know, Lauren, aliens.
Aliens, Bigfoot.
Murderers, you know, I think are definitely one. Aliens, Bigfoot, definitely murderers trying, you know, taking their legs out for a little spin and taking a little taste.
Yeah, you know, gotta stretch the old legs, but, you know, not taking.
Just
I'm not gonna go for a stride. I'm gonna
casually
take
just
them for
murder.
a spin. Fucking cartoons over here.
I I do believe, pedophiles, just because of how many of the cases are children.
Yeah.
And especially the cases that are children that are before, like, I want to say 1980s.
I don't think the time frame matters. I'm pretty sure a lot of these kids that go missing, and there always tends to be like those small group of people or that one individual who's like, oh, yeah, I last saw them around this time, I saw them going up this way.
Yeah.
It's always like some person who last sees this person like once being interviewed by the police and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it takes them a while to like actually come out with it.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
My theory is pretty much really grounded in reality. That it's either they want to go missing,
Mm-hmm.
So
an
faking their death.
unfortunate accident where they suffer, death or getting knocked out and an animal comes and eats them or something like that.
That's how I feel. I'm more
Like-
like in the complications from just being out in the wilderness and
Yeah.
animals and
I
stuff.
died from complications of living.
I'm going to get on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think a big one is definitely the, faking your death and trying on a new life. For
Yeah.
sometimes. So.
Yeah, for like the older people, like there isn't gonna be a 3.5-year-old going off like, I'm gonna start a new life.
Dad didn't buy me the action figure I wanted, so fuck them. I'm going to go find me a new parent.
Right.
My family, I was born into a not rich family, so let's try this again.
Yeah, let's just be homeless and see how that works.
What is it like past life? Like they're like out there in the wilderness and they have a past life regression and they remember like part of their soul contract that they signed up for and they're like, nah, I didn't sign up for this life, and they just yeet themselves somewhere and they're like, let's restart. It's like a big restart button.
I don't think that's how that works.
Yeah, no.
I don't think that's.
Wait,
yeah.
so you'll buy more into an alien
Aliens?
or interdimensional demons like coming to swoop in, but not, oh shit, I just had that so Raven luck. I don't like this life.
I'm going
Goodbye.
to buy into aliens or demons before I buy into a 3-year-old all of a sudden coming to terms with the
How
life
many
that they've got
cases,
ahead
though?
of themselves and going, bye. Like,
I mean,
I'm just gonna head out.
I was already like 3 years old. I already went through some serious stuff as a kid. All right, like if I could have said bye, I would have been like bye, but couldn't do that. But anyways, like that, I believe that as a stretch more than I would believe that like some aliens from outer space are coming in and they're just swooping in and stealing these people.
harvesting, man.
What are they harvesting for?
Our organs.
Why does an alien need our organs?
To study us.
Why do they want to study us?
Because I don't know if you've seen me,
Because
but
we're
I'm.
fucktards.
That's not where I was going, Amanda.
All right.
I bleep that out.
I was going to say,
I'm kidding.
I myself am a divine being, so I would want to study me too. Thank you very much.
But I picture like aliens looking at us the way that we look at ants, and we're just like,
I thought you were
oh.
going to say the way we look at you, and they're just like, oh, honey.
But just like okay, like we're nowhere near that level.
Yeah, humans are idiots.
Like we're gonna take a long
We
time to get
are.
to that level. Like they don't really have that much to learn from us, really, because they're already so far advanced. Like
Yeah,
maybe out of curiosity or just but
Yeah,
I'd really like to discover. I'd like to dive into more about portals and stuff, because I honestly think that would also be a really cool thing. Like all of a sudden, it's like the Outlander or the Inuyasha effect. All of a sudden, it's like 1 minute you're here, you accidentally take a step forward or you touch a stone, and like poof. Next thing you know, I'm
You're
in
talking like a time
feudal
slip.
era Japan. Like
You're more talking about like string theory where there's multiple dimensions of different time stacked upon each other. Is that what you're talking about that you want to like dive into?
I'm talking about Outlander, and all of a sudden stumbling across a guy in a kilt. Okay.
Well, that's like a time slip. That's not like real like
This is
other
just so
dimension.
you can ogle at men in kilts, isn't it?
I mean, yes, but also like science. It's for science purposes.
What, you staring at men in kilts?
Yes.
We'll call bullshit. That's just a Lauren fantasy.
This is why the aliens don't give a shit about us, right?
Yeah.
This conversation right now
Exactly. They
proves
probably
it.
listen to our podcast and like, yeah, no, we don't.
they listen to us.
Maybe we
Yeah.
should just drop a nuke on them.
It's our turn. It's our turn to listen to the human race and see how they are. Let's tune into Spooky Boy and the Spirit Sisters. Yeah, no, never again.
They probably turned on like some news channels and they were like, oh boy.
This looks promising. Spooky Boy and the Spirit Sisters. Spabats! That's clever. Listens to our first
so
episode.
clever.
Gets like 5 minutes into our first episode, and they're like,
Hope is
Turned it
lost.
off.
never mind.
They just turn the ship around and go back.
Oh, that's cute. They had their little awakenings.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, adorable.
Oh, man.
But no, I like I said, my theory is more grounded in reality, that it's people basically, like I said, wanting to go missing, or unfortunate accidents happen, or shit human beings out there.
I like the cave system theory too. I think there's so much of like the land that has yet to be like discovered, and like especially think about erosion and how, you know, even just climate changing and shit. You know, things change out in the wilderness all the time. Especially just look back on our weather our weather what's the word I'm thinking of? The weather patterns from like the past couple years, you know, things have been crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And who's to say that someone went missing but then didn't accidentally fall into a ravine or something, like a hole in the ground, or like, you know, there's all these other things.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
on the more skeptical, sciencey based realm, I think my favorite theory so far is the cave systems.
like them just falling into a ravine kind of thing.
Yeah, my favorite thing is when people just fall into a cave and a ravine and never
love
come
that.
back.
Such a good theory.
But no, I think I think the people whoever decided or came up with the idea to like match the cases up with the cave system, I was just like, I think you know, that's smart, and I think that might be one step closer to where we are
Yeah.
with finding people, especially like, I think it was Amanda who said about the Colorado River, how like
Yeah.
they could be swept under, and
It was Austin that said it during my
Okay.
story.
okay. Well, that's
So, yeah.
yeah. So I think that's a really good theory. I mean, ultimately we
made
won't
progress
know.
here today
Yes, we did.
on part 2 of Missing 411. Lauren taking more of a step into reality and not aliens.
Fuck all of you. I still think it's aliens, but if we want to go the science route,
It's not even science.
I go.
It's
for it.
just more grounded in like a higher possibility of something like that
I'm
happening.
sorry, but one of the accounts was a little girl recounting that her grandmother told her to shit in a bag, like,
Hey, man.
and then sputtered and sparked. If that happened, I'm sorry, aliens or the FBI and the CIA are up to some shisty shit again. So
They're just making robots of like random individuals. Like,
yeah,
yes,
It's possible. I mean, 2020.
we need your turd in this bag, please.
Oh,
I'm just picturing like not even like realistic looking robots, just like Jetsons kind of like robots.
Oh my
that are just,
gosh.
like,
Poop in bag.
ravioli, give me the
Formula-oli.
Damn it.
Wow, it wasn't even me that referenced SpongeBob.
Shit in this bag.
Shit in this bag now. Oh,
Oh gosh, yeah.
Every time I think of that, I just have like this vivid image of like the whole scene going down, and I just try to picture like what my reaction would be like. Like, imagine my grandmother just being like shit in this bag, Lauren. I'd be like, what? Wait, what? I mean, okay, but I don't think we're there yet.
Okay.
What are you going to use it for? Like,
I like how you're just like, what? All right, give me the bag.
okay, but I've got questions. Like,
As you're already like defecating into the bag, you're like, hold
You already
on.
have 10 bags full.
Yeah. Here you go. Is that enough? No, more. All right. Why are you? Wait. Hold up. Why are you doing this?
yeah.
20 bags in, like you're 4 weeks into this experiment, and you're already like finally asking questions.
It's like a weekly thing. Like, it's up. It's that time. It's 4:00. Grandmother and I have to go out in the woods so I can shit in a bag. I don't think to ask why. It just
You're
happened.
applying for a job. What? When can you like? What time can't you work? Wednesdays
We
at
need you to
4
take a
p.m.
drug test.
From 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. I can't. Why? I have a time
Reasons.
commitment for it. Something that's been going on for about like 3 months now. What is it?
I don't. Could you imagine being at like a family gathering and everyone's going about like sharing stories of old things, and you
Like
just
at
come
somebody's
out with
wedding.
it. Yeah, do you remember that time when Grandma used to make us every day at 4:00 walk out to the woods and shit in a bag?
No. Oh, just me? Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
This is
Everyone in the family's like, yeah!
Oh, you too.
And the groom is like, what the fuck? And Grandma's sitting there. Yeah.
Sputtering,
yeah.
like, this is fine.
Head twitching, like,
Shit in the bag.
Oh,
Shit in the
shit.
bag. Shit in the bag.
like, oh no, Grandma needs some WD-40. Hold on.
Hold on, I got a fresh one.
Oh, God. This is gold. I hope no one's eating while listening to
Yeah,
this.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. This took a weird turn. But then again,
Anyways.
Please,
What are your theories?
Yeah, share
Yeah.
your theories with us.
share your stories.
Shit
What
in
do
the
you think
bag,
Grandma
send it
was
to our
doing?
P.O. box.
What do you think Grandma was trying to gain?
Let's
Yeah.
hear some of your stories. Go ahead, share them. Hashtag SBATS or SBATS podcast.
or both.
Yeah.
Has your grandma ever made you shit in a bag? Let us know.
Has Grandma ever force-fed you fiber and then handed you a plastic bag and put you on a leash and walked you in the yard?
That's really kinky.
Like, share, subscribe. But before we go, if you've made it this far,
Thank you.
Yeah, seriously, thank you.
far. See, you've got me all disheveled. We're on episode 12. Guess what, guys? Next episode is our season 1 finale. Yeah.
Yes.
We will be taking a break, and then season 2 will kick back up in January
Yeah.
after all of the holidays. So,
And we're going to be bigger and better next season.
at
We'll
least
try.
we hope so.
Probably a little
Yeah.
more offensive if that's possible.
I'm sure it's possible. Let's
Yeah.
not try to do that.
But yeah, share your theories, share some of your favorite stories, or if there's a story you would like us to cover, please let us know. Email us, link us in the comments. Hashtag SBATS, that's SBATSS, or hashtag SBATS podcast. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, maybe Twitter. We have one. We barely use
Yeah.
it. We're on
By barely, we don't use it.
at all. We're there somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
But yeah. And with that, that concludes episode 12 of Spooky Boy and the Spirit Sisters.
Have a good day, guys.
See you later.
Bye. Stay spooky, folks. Don't shit in the bag.